Now the party can start.
Recording in progress.
Right?
Good evening. It's 6:30 p.m. September 19th, 2023. Madam Clerk, please call to order the Common Council meeting, City of Franklin.
Mayor Nelson.
Here.
Alderman Hopfer.
Here.
Alderwoman Eichman.
Present.
Alderman Hassan.
Here.
Alderwoman Day.
Here.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
Alderman Craig.
Present.
Excellent. Our President, please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item B, citizen comment period. Any citizen wishing to speak, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record, and try to keep it at 3 minutes, please.
Good evening.
Yes.
My name is Dan Kerner, 8630 West Hawthorne Lane. Spoken to people many times over the years. You haven't noticed. Franklin's real bad press coverage right now in regards to your lack of enforcing ordinance. Not even having police showing up to the house taking decibel readings. The noise from the concert this Saturday was an insult to myself, my neighbors, the citizens of Franklin. It was not supposed to leave the stadium, let alone hit our property lines. Voices, sound, the music could be heard blocks away. The developer told us when he applied for the permit, we would not be able to hear anything. The city enforced that. They have shut them down. Called several alderpersons and kind of sympathetic, but the noise stayed on. Mayor Nelson promised in March to have simple fixes before the season started. Turn the speakers down. Did it to solicit our voice. Nothing's happened since then. I called the police twice Saturday night. Profanity. That would have been my neighbors broadcasting that. Probably will haul the guy away. Nothing was done. Send a supervisor out or anything. Jason came out. The older person came out. I got to talk to several older persons. They were kind of sympathetic. In fact, one of them asked, was that berm done? The berm was supposed to be fixed by the end of August. They haven't touched it. They're using it for parking back there. Oh, not only that, but they got generators back there with lights on. Boy, you really care about us as citizens. This is hitting the media right now, and it's bad for you guys. The mayor stopped by, he drove by, he didn't get out of his car. We asked him, hear anything? He said, yeah, I hear the announcer. No, you hear music, you hear profanity. It was just an insult to us. Ashamed of my city, ashamed how we treat our citizens here, ashamed how we treat our residents in Greendale. It should have never have taken place. And the week before was the Banana Savannah, or whatever that was. It was terrible. It was ungodly, unbearable. This was a residential neighborhood. I've been there almost 30 years. Neighbors next door have been there 50 years. Neighbors left town last weekend because they figured this was going to happen. I was hoping it wouldn't. They want to have things up there and have fun. That's fine. I took a walk up there. The people were pleasant. They were in line. They were orderly. But it took away my quality of life for another week. So again, we are in contact with different news organizations. We've been handing in papers, and I want to say misdeeds are part of the city government of Franklin. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to approach?
Orville Seymour, 3020 West Acre Avenue, 48-year resident of the City of Franklin. I will echo the previous comments. We are getting a lot of bad publicity. I've been around long enough that I remember the noise contributed of the Hills Corner Speedway. That's been closed now for 20 years. In the later years, when it was still operating, I can still remember I was a regular attendee at the I I remember they had a noise monitor in the center of the infield to monitor the noise, and you had to be within those decibel limits, otherwise you didn't race that night. That was it. You're done. Had to stop at 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock, dead. You were done. And it's not happening here with the Rock Sports Complex. We have a county supervisor, and I'll name him, Steve Taylor, who pushed the rock through. I think he was the one that made most of the, whatever it's called, to move it forward. He's now in charge of the Rock Sports Complex. I don't doubt for a minute that he's pointing those speakers at the neighbors just for spite. He thinks he can do whatever he wants, and it's not the case. I made an open records request this afternoon for Steve Taylor. Any complaints you got about any noise problems at the Rock Sports Complex? And I'm going to make numerous other open records requests to find out what he's actually doing. So I would suggest you get the police over there on a Saturday night, or whatever it is. Better?
He just has to be closer, I think.
Better?
We'll just move it.
No? Okay. So I suggest you get the police over there on a Saturday night or whenever they have these concerts. Remember, the Hales Corner Speedway operated maybe 20 nights a year. The Rock Sports Complex is operating 130 times a year. I can't believe those neighbors, what they'd have to put up with. We have two police officers sitting here tonight. I suggest you get, instead of bringing them over here, you send them over to the sports complex and find out what's actually going on over there. Start writing some ordinance, writing some tickets, start enforcing the ordinance. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to approach?
Danella McAdams, did you say address too?
Yeah, name and address, please.
Danella McAdams, 8735 West Hawthorne Court. I would like to thank you, Jason, for coming out and spending time with us the past 2 weekends to experience what we have been living through for years, so I appreciate your time. And Mayor Nelson, I appreciate you taking my phone calls over the last couple months. But I do want to talk about something that is on March 22nd, the election. You had a meeting at the library. Promised us that the noise would be under control. I have people here who can verify.
I did say that.
You did, and you promised.
I'm not
us,
debating
and
that with
said
you.
It was an easy solution.
It was.
And
Still
when I
is.
said- Okay, and really? Then why are we still here?
You're exactly right.
So I appreciate you acknowledging that, but at this point, that doesn't, words mean nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's action. In March, we made a promise. So then nothing happened. Memorial Day weekend, I called you. I invited you over to come to my yard, have a beer, see how enjoyable it is to sit in my backyard. And we had a discussion. And you said at that point, I can't do anything until the sound study comes out. And I said, well, how many weeks is that? Oh, about 2. Well, here we are, and the sound has gotten louder. After our last Common Council meeting, I called you the next day. You took my phone call, which I appreciated, and we talked about the concert that was coming up. And you had said, I told you my concerns about the noise, the volume, the language. We're a neighborhood. I have not heard so many motherfucking words said, and motherfucker is what I kept hearing Saturday night with my kids in my neighborhood, in my house. That is unacceptable. You have made promises to us. You have not fulfilled them. Be a man of your word, and please get this taken care of. And I can verify, I have a recording if you would like to hear it, when you said on Saturday night in our neighborhood that all you heard is the announcer. I have a recording if you would like to hear it from my door, which was down the street from where you were. This is a disgrace. Thank you.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
I'd go with the shorter
Green
one.
Short one. Hi, Bernie Carrion, 6928 South 90th Street. I'm gonna keep it real quick. This is the second time it's happened to my family. Had profanities broadcast to my neighborhood. First time was the drive-through. Common council, thank you, took some action to stop, but you can't undo it. I thought, well, this will never happen. It happened again. Thank God my daughter wasn't inside. It started right at 410. Mother effing this, effing that, and then the N-word. I'm sorry. There's no place in our society for this language, and certainly not broadcast to my neighborhood. So please put a stop to this. 2018, Common Council said we don't have to do a sound study. All kinds of, well, I don't say it started there, but it certainly was significant because other cities had the sound study and made sure it was in place. There wasn't due diligence to make sure that sound study was done. And so please open up the PDD, amend it, whatever you have to do to fix the ordinance so we can have what every other city that I called around to, maybe in the whole country, has a comprehensive sound study and a sound system based on that, and then ordinances that enforceable. The monitor is on the wrong side of the property line. They should be on our side. So thanks, appreciate it.
Anyone else wishing to speak at this time? Or we could say your name and address again.
Orville Seymour again, 3020 West Acre Avenue. I forgot to mention my previous comments. The least surprising thing that came out in the news earlier this week was that former mayor Steve Olson directed the police chief not to enforce the noise ordinance. That is the least surprising thing we found out. Mayor, don't be like Steve Olson. You promised the people to do something better. You promised something better. Enforce the ordinance, please.
Hi, I'm Chris Saff, and I'm on 39th and Cypress, and pretty far away from it, but I like the Rock, I must say. Great exercise.
Ma'am,
Good.
yeah, could you, the small one, right?
Oh, okay,
And this is your name and address again, please. ma'am.
okay. Chris Zaff at 39th and Cypress, and 3926.
Exact address,
Thank you, Alderwoman.
Can you hear me
Exact
now?
We can hear you.
One more time?
The full address, please, just for the record.
3926 North Cypress, or West Cypress, sorry. Hidden Lakes area. I was shocked the other night when I heard all the noise. I was thinking, what is going on? I know that Franklin has been having this noise problem. I do like the Rock. I hike it. I climb it. It's fun, I must admit. I go to the Y, I hang out there a lot, but I really, really, really feel that there can be something done about the noise. The other night, I was in Tosa for an orchestra concert, and I crossed the street to get something to eat and bring it back, and I couldn't even hear the concert. Well, they had the berm, of course, but it was really effective, and they've dealt with the noise in a big way, and I really think Franklin can change it and do better. I really feel for the neighbors having to put up with all the noise. I hope you can do something about it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else wishing to speak? Seeing, okay.
My name's Paul Rotzenberg. I live at 6713 West River Point Drive. When I went through the agenda, I was really concerned by the letter from the Board of Review to the council about the assessing system. The assessing system is the system that the city uses to allocate taxes that are levied by not only this council for the city, but also taxes for the school district and the county and the vocational school. That letter indicated that there are significant problems within the assessing system here in the city of Franklin. So I asked myself, who was writing this letter and what's their authority to say that? When I did a record search on the author of the letter, the author is what happened to be a company in northern Wisconsin, and the registered agent for that company is a resident of Franklin who spoke before this group last fall, complaining about the assessing system. Well, that caused me a little bit of concern. So I did more research on the Wisconsin Assessment Advisory Council. It's an 18-month-old corporation here in Wisconsin, as I mentioned, a registered agent and a Franklin resident. but the author of the letter happens to be an assessor in a town in northern Wisconsin. So the content of the letter in terms of what the regulations are very appropriate, and they are real. If I were you as council members, I would be asking staff more questions about who our assessor is and the job that they're doing. Clearly, you could ask questions such as, how many refunds have been made since the new assessor is on board versus the old assessor? What's the number of refunds? What's the size of those refunds? Full disclosure, I was the finance director for the city of Franklin for almost 10 years. And during my tenure, we made almost no tax refunds except for large taxpayers in the TIDS. But generally speaking, throughout the city, very few refunds, very few challenges to assessments that weren't resolved at the Board of Review level. Something clearly doesn't seem to be right here in Franklin. And I hope that you as council members start asking some real questions of staff as to what's going on and get it fixed in a hurry. You don't have the resources to deal with lots of challenges from residents about their tax bills. And that clearly looks like what's headed to you if you don't get this problem fixed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rottenberg.
Good evening, Dana Gint, 9011 West Hawthorne Lane. To say what happened on Saturday or even the week before is just an atrocity. There's a social agreement that we should all treat each other with respect and empathy, and that just does not happen in the city of Franklin. To be able to hear profanity in my home throughout a 5 to 6 hour concert is just egregious with being kind or thoughtful of any other people's opinions. If people want to listen to certain types of music, then they should pay to get into the stadium to do that, or to listen to a certain baseball game or whatever. I should not have to listen to it for 4 to 5 hours at my home. So I'm here to ask for you, on behalf of several residents, that you do immediate action, that you establish the maximum decibel level of 50 decibels at the property line to residential districts, which is in compliance with 15-3.1107, and also in agreement with the Planning Manager Professional Report of December 1st, 2020, which was tabled and was supposed to be brought back by February of 2021. That needs to be brought back and put on the October 3rd agenda. October 3rd, the next Common Council agenda needs to include the Planning Manager report that clearly indicates that 50 decibels is the correct decibel level at the property line. In addition, I'm asking for all speakers at the stadium and umbrella bar to be pointed away from residential districts. This was actually a requirement of the development agreement in 2017 and never occurred. I'm sure there's people here that have no idea that there are speakers intentionally pointing out from the stadium and umbrella bar to be intentionally harmful to people. The other thing is that the decibel monitors need to start recording at 50 decibels at the property line, not 65. 65 is not compliant with any reasonable standard to protect residential districts. The General Mitchell Airport study, Part 150, indicates that 65 decibels is incompatible with residential use, and yet those monitors are starting to record at that level. I think the monitors should be managed and owned by the city and not the developer who hasn't maintained them or properly recorded any kind of information. As far as the Hills Has Eyes event coming up, all speakers should be pointed away from residential districts, and sound absorbing materials should be installed around all speakers. And that was actually something that you guys did in 2015, I believe. It's in the permit application if you want to look. And for some reason that stopped being done. There should not be speakers pointed at my home. And the chainsaws, the motorcycle stunt driver, do you guys even know that there's a motorcycle stunt driver? I have the recording of them saying, oh, the stunt driver's driving now. If you want that, it was at 12:45 last year. I have that recording. I'd be happy to show it to you. So there's a stunt driver in there, chainsaws, things like that should not be going on till 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. Everything, you guys promoted, approved it to be up to midnight, which is just, I can't even explain how awful that is. But it used to end at 11. Now you guys approved it up to midnight. Everything has to stop, hard stop at midnight. I do agree that the concert did stop at 11 o'clock, so you guys were true to your word in that respect, but you were not true to your word to make sure that the noise from the concert was not spilling into the surrounding areas. I just want to read a couple things about public nuisances. It's chapter 178-4. Public nuisances affecting morals and decency, continuous violation of laws, any place or premises within the city where city ordinances or state laws relating to public health, safety, peace, morals, or welfare are openly, continuously, repeatedly, and or intentionally violated. This includes any place or premises which by virtue of their continuous law violations require a disproportionate amount of city services. From my review, it looks like there was many incidences regarding emergency services at the facility on Saturday. As taxpayers, are we paying for that? All the incidents that happened up there? That is completely unacceptable. I mean, not only are we getting harmed, but now we're paying for, I mean, you guys already funded this project. So we're basically paying for a nuisance and to be harmed. It's just outrageous. I have my letter. I would like to be included on the October 3rd packet, including the report from 12/1/2020, so you don't even have to look it up, and the related ordinances 183-40, which says public nuisances are prohibited, 178 public disorderly conduct regarding noise disturbances are prohibited into residential districts, and 178, which is public nuisances are prohibited. I'd appreciate your help with resolving this situation immediately. It's been going on for 10 years. There is no excuse to not take immediate action to fix this problem. Everybody knows it's a problem. The media is obviously paying attention now. It's not a good look for Franklin, and it's not going to stop till you turn it down. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ginn.
Good evening. Rich Busalaki, 7772 Tuckaway Shores Drive, Franklin resident and former Greendale Village trustee. Members of the council, I have prepared comments, and my comments may go over 3 minutes, so I'm wondering if I may ask for your indulgence to go beyond the 3 minutes, if that's permissible.
Just go ahead, Rich.
I have written comments that if you'd like to have them, they're here. So please bear with me. Good evening, Rich Busalaki. I'm a Franklin resident and, as I indicated, former village trustee with the village of Greendale. Everyone wants the Rock to succeed. The Rock is good for Franklin, and the Rock is good for economic development and tourism in southeastern Wisconsin. However, what the Rock is not is a good corporate citizen who wants to work with its neighbors and our community and its residents. The sound and lighting issues that have plagued this venue since its inception have never been addressed and continue not to be addressed, which affect the quality of life of many of our residents who live surrounding the Rock, not to mention our neighbors in Greendale, east of the Rock. John McAdams, who is an affected Franklin neighbor, told the Milwaukee County Audit Committee with an overview of the sound study last week, and this is a quote, "It's been a long struggle for us in this neighborhood to try to bring peace back to this neighborhood. He stressed, we have been battling this noise for 5+ years. I'm tired of wasting my time. I'm hoping and begging that hopefully the county can help us." McAdams said, all we are asking is to turn down the volume. He said, neighbors want speakers turned away from their neighborhood. We really want to bring back a peaceful neighborhood. I'm begging the county, please have some teeth on this developer Zimmerman, he said, unquote. The residents and surrounding community are demanding action on 2 very specific items identified in a county-paid 2-year, $200,000 study. Turn the speakers away from the neighborhood toward the field, lower the sound. This could have been accomplished by Mr. Zimmerman, and his associates could have been Franklin heroes. Instead, he, Mr. Zimmerman, Mr. Taylor, County Supervisor, former Franklin Alderman, Executive Director of the Rock Foundation, and Steve Taylor Consulting are all saying, damn be the residents of Franklin and are playing chicken with the county board and the city of Franklin. The city of Franklin now has a golden opportunity to be heroes. For the residents of Franklin who demand that they fulfill their duly elected responsibilities and stand up and do what's right for Franklin and its residents who have been asking for action since the development was built. I and other concerned residents are asking the Franklin Common Council to do the following and schedule a special session of the Common Council this week to provide a resolution that does the following. Immediately suspend the Rock's Class B liquor license. 2, the Common Council immediately deny the Rock's extraordinary event application for the Hills Has Eyes. 3, the Common Council denies any future or upcoming extraordinary event applications, including Enchant Christmas. It's my understanding that for this event that's already being promoted and advertised very widely, no application has come to the city of Franklin as of yet. The Common Council immediately modify Franklin Civil Code 183-41 from 70 to 79 dBA to 45 to 55 dBA. The Common Council immediately modify the Franklin Civil Code 183-45 B3 to require the responding police officer to take 3 consecutive sound readings using an approved app such as SoundPrint or any other Franklin approved application and take the average of 3 consecutive decibel readings to be used for possible enforcement and take the average of that reading. Eliminate the requirement that the owner or operator of the venue is responsible for taking sound measurements. The city of Franklin, meet with Mike Zimmerman and any representatives from The Rock to develop a written agreement that requires The Rock to turn in the speakers toward the field and require The Rock in writing to abide by the city's new requirements. Once there's an agreement in writing, then the suspension on the liquor licenses can be lifted, as well as approval of the extraordinary event permits. The city of Franklin has the ability to suspend the Rock's Class B liquor license, deny and revoke applications for extraordinary events. Section 169-2 of the Franklin Municipal Code, Compliance, Denial, and Application, Suspension, or Revocation indicates no licensee or permit authorized or required by this code shall be issued or renewed unless the applicant has no outstanding and unpaid personal property taxes, charges, assessments, or forfeitures owed to the city. Mr. Zimmerman and The Rock apparently owe north of $400,000 to the city of Franklin for the underperforming Ballpark Commons Tax Incremental Financing District. Number 2, the applicant or the premises supporting the licensed activity are not in compliance with all applicable statutes, ordinance, governmental codes, rules, orders, or licenses terms. You will hear more in just a moment. The applicant or the premises supporting the licensed activity are not in compliance with all, sorry, I read that one, C5 of the same statute. The applicant operations on the premises or the premises supporting the licensed activity during licensed activities caused or were the subject of violent, abusive, indecent, profane, boisterous, unreasonably loud, or otherwise disorderly conduct tending to cause or provoke a disturbance or an unreasonable activity interfering substantially with the comfortable enjoyment of life, health, safety of those in attendance at the licensed activities surrounding the neighbors or the community. Tacos and tequila, milkman games, Saturday night concerts, fireworks all meet that definition. Section 121-9 of the Franklin Municipal Code for extraordinary events and amusements indicates under regulations, E1, duration and hours of operation. The duration of any special event shall not exceed 4 consecutive days, and any permit issued under this section shall specify the days upon which the event shall occur. So Enchanted Christmas, which has not been approved by the city of Franklin yet, if you look at the calendar on their website, it will show that from the 18th of November, from the 18th of December to the 30th of December, that event is scheduled, and they're selling tickets online, to run 13 consecutive days. E2, maximum attendance. A special event license shall specify the maximum peak number of people to attend the special event. The licensee shall not sell tickets to, nor allow the attendance of more people at the special event at any time than is specified in the license. Any ticket sold or advertisement made prior to the grant of the license under this section and the satisfaction of all conditions, and such license shall then therein, like medium, a statement, the occurrence of the special event remains subject to the approval of the city of Franklin. All the advertising that's out there right now on Enchantment, because it's not been approved by the city. Tacos and Tequila, Hills As Eyes, and Enchanted Christmas. What was the maximum peak attendance request for Tacos and Tequila? Well, according to the open records request for the extraordinary and special event permit, the maximum number of people permitted to assemble for a baseball game is 4,000. But because it's the field, the capacity has now been lifted to 8,000. And according to The Rock, utilizing the platform TicketSmarter, available tickets will be limited to the capacity. We are estimating 4,000 to 6,000 attendees. Does anybody have any idea what the total attendees were? You don't have to answer that. But it's a pretty big window. It's supposed to be, here's our maximum number of attendees. But we can fill out the application and say we have a window of 4,000 to 6,000, to 8,000. Sorry, 4,000 to 6,000. Parking. Off-street parking areas are required for each special event so as to provide parking spaces for the maximum anticipated attendance specified in the license at the rate of at least one parking space for every 3 people. Such parking areas shall be specified with the application and shall be located upon the special event premises. These aren't my rules, these are the city of Franklin's. Upon separate premises, 1,000 feet of special event premises, or upon premises located more than 1,000 feet away from the special event premises, provided that the licensee provides a vehicle shuttle to and from parking area which operates in 15-minute round-trip intervals at all time during the event for continuing 30 minutes following the close of the event any day. Tacos and Tequila was quite aware of the advanced tickets sold, but we don't know what those numbers are. The event was oversold. Apparently there was a shuttle that held 6 people that was running. According to the open records request, the mitigation plan for parking, and I quote from what's indicated in the submittal for the special event application, to monitor and control parking and traffic, we will hire parking attendants that will be equipped with flashlights, safety vests, two-way radios to guide attendees into appointed lots. In addition, our current special event parking.
Mr. Buzlaki, you're about with 6 minutes, just letting you know, you're twice what we normally
I
allow.
will be more, give me 2 minutes and I will be done. Plans utilized as needed. This will be a paid event parking. Paid parking will limit vehicle count and traffic. There's nothing in the plan that was submitted that addresses parking for the event. I will hurry up and finish my comments. Noise, no license shall permit any sound created by the special event activity to carry unreasonably beyond the boundaries of the special event permit. Tacos and Tequila, Saturday night concerts, drive-in, ongoing firework requests. That was E7. You can look in the plan, it's not addressed. Any person intending to hold, sponsor, or produce a special event shall make written application for a special event license and file the same with the city clerk at least 30 working days prior to the event. Again, Enchant Christmas, there's nothing that's been submitted, but it's being promoted. The applicant shall contain and disclose the maximum number of tickets to be sold of any, if any. The applicant indicated it was 4,000 to 6,000 tickets. The applicant shall contain and disclose the plan for sound control and sound amplification, if any, including number, location, power, amplifiers, and speakers, not provided in the application. Approval or denial of application. The special event is of such a size and nature as to require the diversion of so great number of municipal police or fire services so as to deny reasonable police or fire services to the city as a whole? Was there a strain on our police, fire, EMT services? Were the services charged for these? So finally, I'll try to wrap this up in a minute and a half. This is a Franklin issue and can be solved by the Franklin Common Council if they so choose. We all know the history of how this project started and the multiple conflicts of interest and collusion that have occurred to have this project approved. The rock is here and we cannot go backwards. It's time now for the Franklin Common Council and the mayor to do what they know is right within their jurisdiction for the residents that have been asking this since the very beginning of this development. I know many of you are on the Common Council and the administration want to do what is right. We are all aware of the conflicts of interest that reside within the Common Council and the administration. For the Mayor Nelson's 2023 election campaign committee, it consisted of Steve Taylor, Mike Zimmerman from The Rock, Common Council President Michelle Eichmann.
Incorrect, Rich. I was not on Mayor Nelson's
Yeah, I
committee,
was
nor
gonna
was I
correct
on
you too.
former Mayor.
You're at 9 minutes, Rich.
I say
9
correct.
minutes.
Yes.
I'm almost done, members of the
Well,
council. May I have?
The average
you're not-
resident gets 3 minutes, Rich.
You're,
We've
you're,
extended it.
you're not
6
even
minutes past.
close to being accurate, so we're letting you
Yes,
spew
is
this,
a lot of false
this
information.
absolute lies, Rich.
The only lie that I've done so far
You
is.
started right now,
on the committee.
right now.
May I have?
I
two
was not
members
on
of
the committee, Rich, and we've discussed that
Is
several
that the way
times.
we're not supposed to address the speaker?
Right. I think, Mr. Bozalaki, you're at the 9-minute mark. You've made your point. You've already submitted this to the
I'd like
council.
to finish. I have 1.5
Well,
more minutes.
no, you don't have 1.5 more minutes.
No, you don't.
Mr. Mayor, you said
Nope.
you would not cut anybody off.
But we're at 9 minutes, Mr. Barber, if you want to let them
You said
go.
you would not cut anybody off. in a
And
meeting.
we haven't had anybody go 9 minutes before.
Well,
so we've been
I
reasonable.
want to hear what. is-
I'm sure you do. So,
May I finish? 1.5 minutes. And I retract if you were not on the committee, I apologize, and that was a mistaken error. Okay. The Rock is, I know many, so finally, Mike Zimmerman. The question is, does the Franklin Common Council and the administration have the will to do what they know is right? Finally, Mike Zimmerman, the developer of the Rock Sports and Entertainment Complex, is quoted by Wisconsin Right Now as saying, "I haven't heard about these legal threats by county supervisors, but I'll inform my legal counsel to look into," Zimmerman responded. On the surface, it would appear frivolous, emotional, and out of the jurisdiction that they have, and it would be very expensive for them and the taxpayers, I imagine, especially if they lose. Steve Taylor and Mike Zimmerman have had a track record of threatening many individuals publicly, personally, or professionally who disagree in public or private with them. They have threatened County Supervisors Logston, Alexander, and Vincent, and yes, it's well documented. Additionally, the March 30th, 2018 issue of Urban Milwaukee identifies the following officials and county residents who shared stories of Taylor's behavior. The individuals that self-identified as being threatened or harassed by Taylor relating to issues and concerns with The Rock are former Milwaukee County Supervisor Dan Sebring, former Greendale Village trustee Sally Chadwick, and Franklin resident Brian Marish. I have also been threatened by Taylor and Zimmerman in addition to the mayor of Franklin and have text messages to prove the threats. Steve Taylor Facebook messages to me, and I provided copies of you on the summary of the text, and these are quotes. Then it will be game on if you write anything regarding Mike, John, or I on anything outside of the city of Franklin municipal government. Here's another quote. Steve Taylor, to me, "I will talk with Mike and John because you are nothing but trouble," unquote. One more quote. "I am done with you. We will handle you accordingly," unquote. During the week of March 1st, 2023, I filed ethics complaints against Steve Taylor to the Milwaukee County Ethics Commission and also against Mayor Nelson to the Milwaukee County Corporate Council. The ethics complaints focused on being threatened by a public official, Taylor and Nelson offering Franklin jobs as political pay for play, contacting my employer, collusion in providing public benefit to the Rock, misuse of a not-for-profit Rock Foundation organization, make no promise or statement on behalf of the city or common council in an unofficial setting and conflict of interest. 1 week to the day after filing the ethics complaints, Nelson, Taylor, and Zimmerman followed through with their threats against me. I am now dealing with their threats and they will be exposed for what they are doing to me as well as to the citizens of Franklin. You all have the opportunity to do the right thing, not to be a prisoner, not to be afraid of Taylor and Zimmerman for doing what your residents have been asking you to do. You all have the power and authority to end this now and provide the relief the residents expect from their elected officials. If you want to deal with Mike Zimmerman and Steve Taylor, as Zimmerman said, and I quote, "It would be very expensive for them and the taxpayers, I imagine, especially if they lose." Lawsuits won't bother him. What will provide a response from him that the Franklin Common Council can enact is his inability to generate revenue. It's time Taylor, Zimmerman, and The Rock be held accountable by following the same rules as everyone else and no special passes from the City of Franklin Council anymore. The citizens expect to see a resolution or resolutions drafted by this week and a special session called next week. If the mayor, common council, and administration are unwilling to provide the action necessary that they were duly elected to do for the residents of Franklin, then the residents will be here with future ramifications from the citizens. Thank you for your time, your generous time, your courtesy, and we look forward to assisting you in this very near future.
All right, anyone else wishing to speak at this time? Please approach. Name and address,
Hi,
please.
Debbie Ulrich, 7388 South Trinity Court. I just want to say, Mayor Nelson, I wasn't even going to talk tonight, but after this gentleman, I've been following this a long time. I live about 1.5 miles away. I hear it all the time. I'm just wondering how we would find out as citizens what he was saying, you're saying isn't correct. Because to me, it all sounded like what we've been going through or what the neighborhood has been. I've kind of been trying to help them because I hear it too. It just all sounds correct. And you told me on July 4th that you were close to making this happen, and now it's the middle of September. How do we find out what's really going on and what's incorrect?
Well, are you talking about what Mr. Buzalaki said and his allegations against me? Those are incorrect. Let's start with that. Number two, if you're talking about how we're going to address the noise, and that has been a big matzo ball since I've been on the council, 6 years as an alderman, now 6 months as the mayor. And this is something that's, I've made those assurances because I felt that confident that we can get these things done. Okay, I had the assurances. Everything got held up according to the developer regarding the sound study. And whether anybody wants to believe it or not, I'm in the middle. And I'm trying very hard. That's why I keep coming out there. That's why you saw me on Saturday. I was there twice, 5:30 and 10 o'clock. I have a vested interest in this as well. If I didn't care and was on whatever side everybody's thinking, I wouldn't be traveling out there to hear it for myself and hear the issues myself. So that's with that. Are we working on it? What does that mean? It means we're continuing the dialect, working off of that county study and working with the Rock management to get a solution quick. I cannot force them into doing anything. I'm working with them. I know.
You can, though. You can. First of all, I don't know who all approved, who looked over this little taco and tequila thing, but there were people walking down the street. I don't know if you noticed it. Like on Rawson, my daughter drove down there, I think she said like at 10 o'clock. Someone just walked out in front of her. It was a sidewalk on Rawson at some point with people. The parking, I mean, I've heard people that wanted to go to Pick and Save and couldn't even get a parking spot in there. So whoever gave the license and approval for this didn't do a very good job on looking at the whole picture, I think. But you could stop him in a second, pull his license, pull his liquor license, just like this man said. Pull the license. I mean, you talk about negotiating, whatever. No, why? Why negotiate when he is deliberately harming people's lives? It should be looked at that way. And it's simple. Pull his license, stop him, and then maybe he will come to the table. If I lived there, I would have had chili up in those speakers. I would not just be coming here and being turned down every time for years and years. It's like, it's ridiculous. It's mean. It's cruel. He should be ashamed of himself. And anyone here that's just blatantly smiling or laughing about it and thinking this isn't a major thing.
No,
to
nobody,
people that
I'm not going to speak for the council, but I
Well-
don't believe anybody up here is thinking that way at all.
Well,
This
you-
is a
okay.
it's a nonstop.
Okay.
It's nonstop.
All right,
I
well,
get it.
thank you, Mayor Nelson.
Thank you. So what I'd like to do is.
To speak again, if you don't
Hi.
mind. Hi, Dana
Hi, Dana,
Gant.
can you not speak for a minute? I just want to address one of the things that you brought up on this.
Okay, sure.
If you're okay with that?
Thank you.
Thanks. You can stay there. It's just going to be a minute. This is just the summary I received from the police department. I asked them on Friday if after Saturday's event, I could get a summary or breakdown from first responder activity. So we have under arrests, and this was sent from the PD to me, and this was forwarded to all the electeds, the city clerk, and the director of administration. So I'll read it verbatim, and I'll have it out there, so I'm sure it's available for public record. So it says, event, Tacos and Tequila, Rock Sports Complex, date, Saturday, September 16, 2023, 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. Arrests. No arrests were made on or near the Rock Sports Complex grounds during this event. Several attendees were escorted from the property by officers at the request of event security. Under medical and rescue, 9 calls for medical assistance were handled by Franklin Fire Department or other local fire agencies through mutual aid. 4 of 9 were for intoxication. Curtis Ambulance was on site and contracted to handle medical concerns on the Rock grounds. Their numbers are not known or reported. Noise complaints, there were 18 noise complaints were made by 15 different callers between 12:40 p.m. and 10:50 p.m. Several callers were Greendale and Hell's Corners residents. Parking complaints, there were 2 complaints reported on the Rock grounds by staff but were gone on officer arrival. And 1 complaint of people parking in the pick and save lot. No Franklin PD action was taken as it was not properly posted. No citations issued for parking complaints. That's the document in its entirety, and that can be obtained through the clerk's office. Dana, you have the floor.
Thank you. Dana Gant, 9011 West Hawthorne Lane. What are the online complaints? Because that's the process that you guys have restricted us to do instead of calling the police department because they're instructed not to respond to us. So I appreciate that. That's very interesting regarding the number of complaints. Obviously, some people probably don't know what to do when they live in Greendale or Hales Corners, how to address the noise traveling. I mean, there was a video posting from Crossroads Pizza. I think that's like 2 miles away, you guys.
And there were 23 apparently that were online, Madam Clerk.
23 online and 18 phone calls to the police. Okay. As far as you guys saying things like you feel like you don't have anything to enforce here with the situation with the noise, I completely disagree. You tabled the report from December 1st, 2020 that literally says the decibel level is supposed to be 50 decibels at the property line. That report was tabled to be brought back by February 2021. So we all know that was supposed to be reviewed again. That went into oblivion and hasn't been presented again, despite me asking numerous times, other residents asking numerous times. The other thing is that the Planning Commission was supposed to have a 1-year review of the decibel levels. It's actually in the PDD, a 1-year review. It was approved June 7, 2018, to have a 1-year review after the opening of the stadium. So to say you and the developer agreed to that. So you and everyone else can do that. That's a 1-year review to evaluate the impact of the decibel level at 79 decibels at the property line of people's homes. And something that should be examined is how did 79 decibels get established for the property line of residential homes? At the committee of the whole meeting, when the zoning administrator, Mr. Martinez, said and I can give you the timestamp, I'm sure, he said, I'm not 100% sure where the 79 decibels came from. I believe it's because the underlying zoning district is B2345, plus the 15 decibels per day. That equals close to 80. The PDD itself lists the underlying zoning district as P1, Parks 1. The maximal decibel level in P1 is 55 for the entire property. And Joe Dietl stated that in the January 9th, 2018 report and in the June 7th, 2018 report. He literally put in his report, the developer is assuming the incorrect decibel level for this development. He has said it at several reports, and I don't know why you guys ignore your professional staff, but that is what happened. And as far as the PDD goes, there is the district intent for the Rock Sports Complex. I won't read the whole thing, but I'll read you the paragraph. The entire sports complex area in general and the existing ball fields and the proposed stadium in particular shall employ superior lighting and sound systems as to minimize potential adverse impacts upon adjacent properties. All development within this area shall comply with the standards and requirements of the P1 Park District. It is right there in your PDD. You don't need to reopen it. You just need to enforce what's in the PDD. Also, there's a noise section that you guys, it's indicated that you will comply with ordinances 183-38 through 183-46, plus 15-3.1107. So the 15.31107 clearly indicates that the decibel level at the residential district is supposed to be 50 decibels. It's right there in the PDD. You don't need to renegotiate it. You just need to use the PDD in the way it was intended. And if there's some other page that you guys manipulated to allow for 79 decibels, under state law, the most restricted, when there's a conflict of standards, the most restrictive and stringent standard applies, which would be the 50 decibels at the property line. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else wishing to speak at this time?
Good evening, Sunny Scott, 9029 West Hawthorne Lane. I had no intentions of speaking this evening. I wasn't even really going to attend the meeting. I was on my way walking my dog home to our parents' house. They live in Greendale. They've heard all of the noise, the same things that all of us hear. We walked through the rock. We encountered so many alcohol bottles, cans, garbage, everything left over from Saturday. That was this afternoon. Then I got to my parents' house and they were watching the news, and there was an extremely unfavorable story on the news about tacos and tequila and the city of Franklin. And as a resident, all politics aside, my husband and I have not been involved in this battle at all. I just want to say, on a human level, from one human to a board of another humans, please look around this room, look at the people who are impacted by what's happening, and just please consider on a human level, one-on-one, our concerns. Thank you.
Definitely my better half. My name is Donald Scott. I live at 9029 West Hawthorne Lane. I was very excited about the Rock coming. I bought season tickets. Sunny's been in Greendale for generations. Her family was the original homesteaders. Great community. I love this place. We're both members of the American Legion and the Veterans of Foreign Wars. We love this community. We not just bought 2 tickets, we bought 4 tickets, 4 season tickets, so we could take someone with us every time we went. We took someone to the games because we wanted to be proud. This is how they felt about us. They displayed the dairy farmers, they're called the milkmen, they displayed the dairy farmers, literally, quote, unquote, grain-fed hillbillies. They put them in overalls with no shirts, straw hats. They're chewing on tobacco with other stuff sticking out of their mouth. I'm sorry, not everyone wears overalls. The farmer's daughter wears Daisy Duke shorts and a halter top. He also has a beard. You were talking, Mr. Mayor, about you can only hear the intercom or the speakers. That happens in between every inning, in between the innings even. Every 3 outs, 18 times a game, they do some in-between stunt where they're yelling over the intercom. Here's what happened the night I took my family there. The milkman, who yells into the microphone as loud as he possibly can, took the grain-fed farmers and the farmer daughters into the stands. And they went to a family of 4, and I know it was a family. It was a man and a woman and a 10-year-old son, about 10 years old, I'm not sure. I was a school board vice president. I can guess his age was probably 5th grade. And their younger daughter, younger than him. And they said, this particular stunt is called Name That Tune. So let's play. Raise your hands when you guess it. I like them round and big, and when I'm throwing a gig, I just can't help myself. I'm acting like an animal. Now here's my scandal. I want to get you home and a double up, I ain't talking about Playboy, because silicone parts were made for toys. I want them real thick and juicy, so find that double juicy. Mix-a-Lot's in trouble looking for a piece of that bubble. Who knows it? No one? You know it? Who is it?
Sir Mix-a-Lot.
Wow.
What's the name of the song?
Baby.
Baby Got Back, Sir Mix-a-Lot. That's what they think of us. That's what they think of you. That's what they think of all of you. Mr. Mayor, you're not in the middle. You're not in the middle between a business and the people that elected you. You will never be in the middle. You are elected by the people that want you to represent us. They don't think of you as us, but you are us, and we need you to help us on this one. You said you come to the game to understand. Please, all of you come to the games and understand. It's not a family event. It's hell. Please help us. And again, thank you, son. And your family doesn't deserve this. Please help us.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak? Debbie, I think you were on your way up.
Debbie Davis, 9460 South 96th Street. Oh, the small. Okay. Did you get my address?
Perfect.
Okay. Thank you to those who've spoken. I just want to say first that I know that everyone's on the council really cares about people of Franklin, and I know you also support The Rock. And I know some of you have exceptionally good relationships with people at The Rock and believe that those relationships could be used to solve this problem. So in particular, Mayor Nelson, I have not a shred of doubt that, you got those assurances and that your intention is to solve this. And I appreciate what you're doing. And so I don't see it's on you, but, this past event last weekend, I heard it inside my house, and I just checked 4.6 miles away. So I hope that this is sort of the turning point, because we can change things. The license come up and we say no approval for licensing for future events until this problem is solved. And it's such a simple thing, turn the speakers around, turn them down, turn the volume down. It's so simple. And I don't think it's going to change until we take really concrete steps like that. So I think it's really on the council now. But I appreciate the efforts people have made, and it's just time for something a little bit more. So that's one thing. The other thing is, I have no idea at what point we're at with the budget approval. I sit on the Commission for Public Health, the Public Health Commission. I'm not speaking for the commission right now, but I do know that they submitted a budget proposal, and the police and the fire, and within all 3 of their proposals, they've requested a 0.3 social worker, because this is what they need to do their jobs better. And I think we are one of the few municipalities in all of Milwaukee County that doesn't have a municipal social worker. Both my husband and I are mental health providers, and I know that there's a real need. They said that the need is getting stronger every year. So And I know that we got a little bit more money in our budget from shared revenue, and I'm sure there are a lot of needs for that money, but I just really want to advocate for a municipal social worker. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. And to comment back, I do take responsibility because I made assurances that I thought were going to be simply followed. And I will work extremely hard to get this done. Dana, take the day, date, and time. I will get this done, okay? All right. At this point, does anyone else want to come forward and speak? As we have rule of thumb, we've got up to 14 minutes and 14 seconds, so go ahead. Take your time.
Dale Kerner, 8630 West Hawthorne Lane. I guess what surprises me is you guys approved the use of the stadium for a rap concert. And what the approval was that the noise would not leave the stadium. What are you going to do to the developer? And it's not like it was 5 minutes. It wasn't like it was 10 minutes. It wasn't like it was half hour. It was hours on end. But yet you blow it away like it was nothing. If that was my neighbor doing that to me and the police didn't respond, I would have responded to the neighbor. It's not a threat. It's just common courtesy. I'm surprised you guys don't have a plan of action to, I don't want to say incarcerate them, fine them, stop them. And this is not the first offense, by no means. I don't care if, the squads were sent up there 3 times or whatever that happened. That's going to happen at public events. But when it comes to my yard and affects my quality of life, you guys have failed. You have completely failed. You were warned by our other neighbors that this was going to be a problem, the sound in that. That Mike from the sound study said, out in the hall, up in front here, don't worry about the sound. We're going to have it. We got speakers that fight other speakers. How come that gentleman is not sitting here being drilled by you guys right now? Did you go to his house the other night? Did anybody call him? Did anybody call Zimmerman that night and say, hey, we're going to shut you down. Either you stop that sound within a half hour or we're going to shut the stadium down. We're going to turn off the power to the stadium. You can send your people home. And if they want refunds, it's up to you. I'm flabbergasted by the lack of response from you guys as leaders. I don't get it, but thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Seeing no one else, close citizen comment period. Move on to item C, approval of minutes, regular common council meeting of September 5th, 2023. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Moving on to D, we've got no hearings. Under E. Edward, organizational business, I made the following appointments to do council confirmation. Clark Johnson, Board of Public Works for a 3-year term expiring April 30th of 26. Craig Marfke, Architectural Board for a 3-year unexpiring term, April 30th. He was an alternate member, moving to a regular member because we are having problems having quorums. Any motion for separate, or are we good to approve?
I believe we're good to approve both. If council's agree, I'll make the motion.
We got a motion, is there a second?
Second.
First and a second, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Under F, there are no letters and petitions. Moving forward to G1. G1, there is an amended document in front of you, and what Madam Clerk informs me is there was a eagle eye on the board here. Mr. Barber found the address to be wrong, so it should be 7730 South Lovers Lane. That was on item 3 of page 2, and that apparently is the only change for that.
I make a motion to make the motion to adopt resolution 2023 imposing conditions and restrictions for the approval of a special use for a drive-through restaurant upon property located at the 7733 is the correct address? Is that the correct?
I
I'm
believe it's
sorry. It was hard to hear with all the noise in the hallway.
7730 South Lovers Lane.
Okay. And I'm probably not going to say the applicant's name correct. I apologize. The applicant is also here and had requested a few minutes to speak when it is appropriate. For Dharmesh Galani, AK Developers LLC, applicant Franklin Wyndham LLC, property owner.
Second.
So we've got a first and a second. Mr. City Attorney?
Only that in the packet and the revised resolution, if you notice, the font is different than all the other resolutions and ordinances done in the city. If you want that font, you can say subject minor technical correction.
Okay.
Is that okay? I mean, I agree the fonts need to be
Yep,
consistent.
I stick with my motion.
Okay, motion stands.
And Mayor, can the applicant have a minute or two? He just wanted to introduce himself.
Yeah, I would, I would like to do a first and a second, if we can go through it as,
Roll call.
and then, well, not roll call, just first and second, we'll take the vote, and then the gentleman can come up here. Okay, so we got first and a second. Any further discussion? See none, all's in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Sir, would you like to come up? Thank you and welcome. You can come to the regular chair here.
Thank you, Common Council members. My name is Dharmesh Kalani, and I have been a Franklin resident since 2010. Both of my kids been to elementary and middle school here, and currently they are in high school in Franklin. My address is 5514 West River Park Court. As I said, I have moved here back in 2010. I am a pharmacist by profession, like Alderman Hassan, and I'm a serial entrepreneur. I'm so excited to finally bring development into the Franklin. It makes me feel great that I am finally putting my heart, my money where my heart is. With that said, we will be meeting and agreeing to all the staff comments and recommendation. I would like to thank all the Common Council members and Mayor Nelson for allowing me to serve this city that I live in. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming to our city, and you'll probably be seeing too much of me. All right, moving on to G2, the authorized wage adjustment for Ryan Booth, grade level 3 to hourly rate 27.38. Account that we'll be using will be 01-0144-5111. Jim, would you please go into some details to why this is a smart move for the city?
Yes, we're having a tremendous amount of trouble right now turning around and recruiting IT staff. We're currently down to 50% of our IT staffing levels right now. Trying to find the additional help desk operator position. We've been trying desperately since 2020 to fill that position. Unfortunately, one of the positions that we actually had, we were trying to turn around and recruit Mary Steinhardt is a permanent employee, and she turned down the offer for it because the money that she was earning over at Robert Half Technology as a temp was $6,000 more than what we were originally offering her. The grade level for this position is extremely low at this period of time. It's positioned as a grade level 3. We are doing an HR study, a comprehensive one throughout the entire city, where they will be looking at job descriptions and looking at additional grade levels and making market adjustments for it. But I can say right now that even without the certification that Ryan is beyond undertaking, which is a very difficult certification, improves his skills both as a network security engineer and as a system administrator. Just looking at the help desk position, a tier 2, and this is per the 2024 Robert Half Technology study, a tier 2 help desk administrator for the city of Racine, which is 5% below what Milwaukee is, starts at $43,700 and goes up to $59,619. What we're putting in right now and requesting in our job description is a true tier 3, because it's a mixed job of both between help desk administration and system administration, is $52,963 is their starting wage, and it goes all the way up to $75,763. The most I can do at this point right now is to give Ryan the maximum that we have for the current grade level 3 job description, realizing that someday in the future, we would like to turn around and move him over to a network engineering job position. We have it as an approved job position within IT. Unfortunately, there's not money within the 2024 budget to add an additional position for it. So we have to make do with the best that we possibly can. I do realize that the market rate right now for network security engineers starts at $109,000. So we're trying to do whatever we possibly can right now to retain the staff that we have, because turning around and going to market and looking for purple squirrels, these obtrusive people that you can never turn around and find with the skill sets, is going to be extremely difficult, because you not only need to have the skills of an IT professional, but you also have to turn around and pass a full CJIS background check and have a pretty clean crime record and no drug record whatsoever in order to work for a police department. So we're trying to maximize the best we possibly can.
Thank you, Director. Mr. Barber.
Motion to authorize the hourly wage increase.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Alderwoman Day.
Thanks, Jim. I have worked with Ryan extensively when I worked for the health department, and he's wonderful, all the things that you said, and we need to do what we can to keep him. The concern I have is a little bit further down the road as we talk about the comp study and looking at new job descriptions and whatnot. I am all in favor of giving Ryan as much money as we can that the budget allows to keep him here. My concern is long-term, and this is for all of us as the council and finance and director of administration. We really need to work on the job description so that we don't redline him and get him stuck at that point, because as Jim just said, it's still incredibly underpaid. So we need to really make sure that we look at those positions that we are historically underpaid on when we do the comp study, to make sure that we're not going to lose good people because we're not able to move them up. So that we just redlined him. So this is good to keep him maybe for a little bit, but it's not going to keep him for long if he can't keep moving up.
Amen.
Thank you, Alderwoman. We have a first and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director. G3, presentation of the mayor's 2024 recommended budget. You've got Madam Director of Administration and Madam Finance Director.
Bring up. Maybe.
I guess as we lead into this, as the technology is getting caught up, I'm not gonna steal the thunder of some of the unfortunate surprises that were brought up to us as this was dug into, and there were certain goals and objectives that we had discussed going into this, which address Ms. Day's concerns about retention of employees, and looking forward to keeping a zero to flat as possible tax for our citizens, not compromising services at all, and looking to where the choke points are in our organization, to where things are held up, i.e. planning, as our major focus on one of the things that we have to fix. So, without further ado, that's not coming up though.
It's not, I know.
I could bring the IT director back about those purple, what are you talking about, those purple things we gotta look for?
Purple squirrels.
Purple squirrels?
Can't share the screen.
Oh, you're on your laptop.
Yeah. It has to go.
No, it has to go out to the desktop PC over there. Do you have the keyboard?
I'm glad when Jim's here.
I am too.
Mouse?
Mouse is here.
All right, so where do you have it on the?
I'm gonna my desktop
There we go.
to save it.
Yeah, save it over to like the H drive or whatever you have mounted. Assume you're signed in as you over here.
Mm-hmm.
Close up. All right, where's your, close out the PowerPoint. All right, you have it on drive. Click, copy it. No. Or, put it.
Is that right here?
It's not there.
No, is that good, though? Just click anywhere, paste. Stay in the dock. See it.
2023-08-15. Right there, staff presentation. Down a little, down. Right there. No, that's, no, that's not it. That's not it.
We'll just, come back later. Maybe another time.
Well, can we start the narrative and then catch up with the visual?
Yeah, there's really not much visual, so I mean, certainly we can go through and just talk about the budget. Is that the preference?
I guess what I would say is, it'd be nice just wait just a minute to see what the slides, if we need to recess for 5 minutes. What do you think?
Sorted. I can't read it. I cannot see what's
I
on the
can't,
screen.
it's not there. Oh, there it is.
Right there?
Yep.
All right. So much for new context.
You and me both.
Edit?
Yep.
All right.
Look at that.
There we go. Who's gonna drive with the cooking? Who's presenting? Are you presenting? All right, then you
Both.
use the arrow keys.
Co-presenters.
Co-presenters.
Danielle's gonna be speaking a lot tonight.
All right, I don't know if I need this for anything. So I got there, but, all right.
Well, first thing, before you start talking, I want to thank both of you for the tireless work. Thank you also, Mr. Rotzenberg, who offered a lot of guidance to get this whole process and this whole document pulled together in a way which, like I mentioned before, with protecting the citizens' best financial interests, being very prudent of the money that we have, trying to fix things that need to be fixed, and also trying to retain our employees with the wage increases. So thank you both very, very much, and Mr. Rotzenberg as well. Tireless work and much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
It's a little bit cooler, I think.
Right. I would also like to thank all of you for the time and opportunity to present this. I would also like to thank the staff that have helped, and most importantly, Danielle, that has been my right-hand person. We pulled an all-nighter to pull this off, and obviously this is our first, so please be kind.
Bear with us.
Yes, bear with us. We will take away any questions that you have and work to get those answers for you. I can tell you the main theme for our recommended budget, the mayor's recommended budget this year, was to try to keep it as flat as possible, which means that our focus was to not really change what had already been determined last year. We're looking to keep the taxes as close to what they are, and we ran into a lot of challenges as such. So as you can see, there's key highlights. The being fiscally responsible is part of making some of these hard decisions that we've come across. And one of the most important pieces of the way the city operates is our staff. So we want to make sure that we show our employees that we value them and also maintain those services, the services levels that we are providing to our city. We have a very conservative spending and prioritizing on our capital needs that has been proposed in this budget. We're matching current recurring revenues with operating expenditures, minimizing taxes to the extent possible. Some of the known and ongoing challenges are balancing the services provided to the cost of those services, and being reasonable and fair. Restraints on the state level, levy limits, expenditure restraint limits, and reduced or stagnant shared revenues. We also have marketplace pressures and economy-based pressures. Did you want to add anything? No, right? Okay. We have some guiding assumptions. Our guiding assumptions, and the most important again, is to maintain city services. We want to protect city's assets and use resources responsibly. Again, our employees are our largest asset. They also take up 73% of our general fund budget. This recommended budget is recommending a personnel addition of an associate planner and increasing 2 part-time employees in the clerk's office to full-time. We have a review of our operations and cost evaluations, and we've made considerations for consolidating services, adopting feasible new technology, and contracting for services. Many of these things have come before the Common Council over the last several months, and it's all part of trying to be fiscally responsible and provide the residents with the appropriate services. Capital spending, we're planning to review every request on its own merit and consider the effect of maintenance of buildings and roads and impact of deferred maintenance. One of our budget strategies, and that goes to the point that I had just made, is to keep the continuation of the 5-year capital improvement plan. It allows us to identify and prioritize the city's capital needs while also making sure that we are repairing and replacing our aging infrastructure. We also have to focus on the building and purchasing of new assets and make sure that they are consistent with the growth and development of our city. As all of us are aware, we have many new opportunities coming through the pipe, and it's important that we are able to provide that level of service and the infrastructure necessary to make these projects successful. We're trying to minimize unanticipated and unplanned capital expenditures, provide a level of certainty while also keeping the community informed and allowing them an opportunity to provide their input. Planning is for funding needs. We're trying to strike a balance between what is needed and what our finances can actually cover. Our partnerships with contracted services, there's an immediate need, and then they can also fill the future needs. And one of those things that we're doing right now is through industrial, I can't remember, they go by IRS. What is their middle?
Roofing services.
Roofing services, thank you, Industrial Roofing Services, IRS. So we have contracted with them in previous years and continue to contract with them to provide services for building maintenance and to ensure that those needs that we have as a municipality, those that they're addressed before the problems get more out of hand. Another partnership that we continue to place is with planning. So currently we have a lot of projects going through and we are understaffed in planning. So one of the things that we have done is to bring on board some consultants to help us keep the projects moving forward so that we can be successful and provide our applicants with what they need. Prudent debt management is very similar to last year, that we have the strong Moody's AA2 debt rating. It reflects that we are essentially healthy in our fiscal planning. We've got increased development agreements, which has raised our debt obligation. Our current debt is $68 million, with 62.2% from TIF development agreements. And we have other projects in the pipe that will end up impacting that. Debt utilization, the city uses 25% of its statutory debt capacity. It's 5% of equalized value, and it stays within its 40% self-imposed limit. Marketplace view, we are staying under 50% capacity, which is seen as a positive. Some major highlights: we're currently providing city services that are going to be maintained with no staff reduction. The net levy adjustment of $1,082,200 was driven by new construction value, TID 4 closure, and increased expenditures over 2024 revenues, slightly increasing the tax burden on property owners. We have a local tax rate of $4.03 per $1,000 of value, and that is a 35-cent decrease compared to 2023's rate of $4.38 per $1,000. Our general fund revenues and expenditures have risen. They're slightly over $1.8 million compared to 2023, excluding restricted contingency. And a lot of this is from our personnel costs, which has risen by $1.55 million due to wage increases, adding a planner to the planning department, employee compensations, and health insurance expenses, which have increased to almost the tune of $800,000. The city is installing a significant, overdue, and necessary upgrade to its technology infrastructure and our phone system, with an immediate focus on necessary security needs. This is vital. We cannot operate without updating our infrastructure.
Madam Director? Just one quick that she touched on, which was a big surprise when it came to costs, which was that health insurance increase. And that was that huge hit that none of us saw coming, and none of us would have. So what exactly was that, and how did it occur? If you could just 30 seconds on that.
The short and sweet of it is that we have a large increase in claims and health claims. There are a handful that are just, hundreds of thousands of dollars. So we've had a plan that was running really well for several years, and we're kind of looks like we're kind of running into the next wave of things, which will be seeing a lot of claims coming through, high claims, and then obviously that's going to impact our premiums.
So specifically from last year to this year, what was that increase that you know?
$750,000.
So the increase on the employees is about 16% increase in insurance costs, and then 31% to the city's premiums.
The hit. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been quite a challenge because of that. That's obviously, it's a very substantial hit for us. And in addition, part of that personnel increase to $1.55 million is to also provide our non-rep employees with the 3% pay increase. Unfortunately, that's going to pretty much be offset with the increase in insurance premiums.
And I will just add to that, the $1.8 million in increased revenue that we received from the state of Wisconsin, their shared revenue, again, that was substantially offset by the wage increases and the insurance premium increases. The other additional increases that we had in expenditures were legal fees, just some special legal fees. In 2024, the property and auto insurance has substantially increased, and that wasn't reflected over the last few years. And then the council has approved some additional transfers to some of our other funds, civil service, or I'm sorry, the civic celebrations and the St. Martin's Fair, so that had an increase in expenditures over the revenues.
Critical projects that we are seeing come about, we have the fiber networking for the city. This is obviously, again, part of what I had touched on previously and part of the technological infrastructure improvements that we need to put into place. The phone system is also one of those. So they're kind of in tandem and they're quite expensive, but very necessary. We also have the completion of a major update to our UDO, our Unified Development Ordinance. This defines the zoning, development, and land division regulations that the city has for the properties. And then in tandem with that, we also have to embark upon the master plan and comprehensive outdoor recreation plan update, as well as the zoning maps update. And all of that has to be done together so that way we can implement it all. As we focus on operations, we are looking to do things smarter and also grow. We want to develop our city, but we cannot do that with the aging infrastructure that we are dealing with. Well, we can do it, but it's going to cost us money. So we're dealing with aging infrastructure, and we also have areas that we do not have development. So when we have developers that want to come in and buy a parcel of land, put a business there, many of them are looking for assistance with the basic infrastructure of utilities, roads, water, sewer that we just don't have in a lot of these areas. We are still focusing on determining the city's future water source. This has been going on since 2016, is it? Yeah, roughly. So we are looking to shore that up hopefully this year. And we are also attempting to attract and maintain high quality workforce with succession planning, update to our compensation program that has been started. And that will include looking to update our job descriptions and also make sure that we are comparable in our pay with other municipalities. We are looking also to implement the merit plan that was approved with our last comp and class study in 2015, but never implemented. And we have funds from 2021, 2022, and now 2023 budgeted for that account that we will be carrying over to implement it hopefully in the next year. We continue to look for focus on operational efficiencies and evaluations of services. Some of our strengths and opportunities. We are one of the few municipalities in Milwaukee County that still has developable land. This is huge for us, but it also puts a responsibility on us to make sure that we are bringing in the right businesses for those lands and for this community. We have the funding for capital items thanks to the landfill siting fees. That is not a forever stream of revenue that's coming in. There will be an end to that, and it has been covering quite a substantial amount of our expenses. And then we have impact fees And those impact fees support needs for further improvements throughout the city. We have an OPEB trust and a pension fund, which both are running okay. Operating budget, some of our other funds, we've got the solid waste fund, sanitary sewer fund, civil celebrations, St. Martin's Fair, donations, and grants through the fire, police, health, and other departments.
The only thing that I wanted to add to that is, as you look throughout the mayor's recommended budget, again, as Kelly shared, you'll see most of the expenses remain flat from 2023 with the exception of personnel costs, things like insurance, fuel costs, utilities, things that we don't really have the luxury of determining what the costs are going to be. That being said, some of these smaller operational funds like the solid waste fund, the civic celebrations fund, again, $30,000 was budgeted additionally to go, I'm sorry, what was it, $18,000 of additional expenses are going over to the civic celebrations fund to cover expenses. With that, we made the same change to the St. Martin's Fair. That fund has been running at a deficit, which needs to be covered by the general fund. And then with solid waste, last year there was an increase in garbage and recycling fees to residents of $5. However, prior to that, there was a few years where expenses were rising. However, the garbage and recycling fee was not being
Passed on.
Yeah, passed on to the residents. That being said, we have increased the charge to residents by $20 for 2024.
Thank you. Some of our internal service fund is the self-insurance fund, and we are working on the 2024 draft budget, which will continue to be ongoing as we determine what the actual impact to the city will be for the insurance premiums. There will not be a substantial plan design change that we are anticipating. We are working on funding for employers. Just it's ongoing, and it will probably continue to be a struggle. IRS is requiring a change to the deductible for a qualified high deductible health plan, so that will impact the benefits. That is obviously passed on by IRS and not by the city. We've moved to a primary care model requirement for the discount to our health insurance premiums rather than remaining in a biometric model. And then we are keeping Nice Health Care, which is a benefit to city employees where you can reach out if you're sick, if you have hurt yourself, and you can set up an appointment. They come to us. They provide prescriptions. They have a slew of benefits that they provide to city employees, and it's all free to the city employee. So there is a way to offset those health insurance costs outside of the premium. If people are interested, they can use Nice Health Care. I know that there are several that do not pay for prescription costs. Humana Go 365, they are sunsetting their program. They're no longer going to offer it. And as a result of that, we will not have that available. And we determined that the benefits of the wellness plan is not comparable to the cost for the city. Our debt service fund, the debt service levy is 1.1 million, and it's been this way for the last 2 years. Multiple funding sources that exist under our general obligation debt. We have the general city funds, the water, sewer, and TID. We are expecting debt or a TID shortfall with at least one of our TIDs as they are not performing at the expectation when these TIDs were written. And the developer will have to make sure that they are making up for that gap. Future borrowing plan in concert with the capital improvement plan. We have one-time large projects, which will require increasing borrowing compared to our current plan. And then the overall consideration of borrowing and spending related to debt is ongoing.
I can state that 2023, we have some borrowings that will be presented later tonight. However, in the mayor's recommended budget, there was no borrowing being introduced in 2024, so we'll have to look again at some capital borrowing in 2025. However, these borrowings discussed tonight and then future borrowings will impact our debt service levy, so we'll have to think about how we want to use that levy on the taxes and use that going forward.
We have 4 upcoming Finance Committee meetings. They are, as planned, Tuesday, September 26th at 4 p.m. And we will have the introduction of the budget by the mayor, as well as covering city departments, planning, public safety, public inspections, health, animal control, and recreation. And then we have Thursday, September 28th at 4 p.m. We will be covering the economic development, general government, and public works at that session. Monday, October 2nd at 4 p.m., we will cover the remaining funds and also capital funds, tax incrementing, financing districts, debt service, and self-insurance fund. Wednesday, October 4th at 4 p.m., will be focused on total tax levy and tax rates, and we will determine what the recommendations are from the Common Council at that time.
And I just want to recommend to the public and to Common Council that those 4 meetings are set in place so that department heads can come before the Finance Committee and discuss their requests. Questions can be answered, and then those recommendations from the Finance Committee will come back to the Common Council. So if anybody has questions that they want answered from those specific departments, please come to those meetings.
Thank you. And we have the timeline from now through the council consideration on November 14th. So we will have those discussions at the Finance Committee meetings that we had just discussed. And then we will make those initial changes to our budget and bring that forward on October 10th. There will be a hearing notice published on October 25th for the current budget details. And then we will have continued deliberations for the following month. Public hearing on the 2024 proposed budget for November 14th, and then council consideration of the proposed 2024 budget on the same day. Staff will be as responsive and available as possible to ensure that Common Council questions and concerns are answered. Thank you.
So we'll open the floor to questions. Mr. Barber.
First of all, I want to thank you for the time and effort you put into this. I go up and down Loomis Road at night. There's offices that are lit.
Hey, Mike.
The offices that are lit, I'm wondering why we're spending money to have the lights on when nobody's here. But then I realize people are here, and it's mostly in the middle office that's down the street from the important people, obviously. Anyway, my concern is we've always heard, and the level of staffing as a topic area. We've always heard how short-staffed our fire department is, our police department, our DPW. I realize that can't be done in a single budget, but what are the long-term plans to get there in the future? And you know, I think the council would like to know eventually how we can plan to maintain that staffing, if not increase it to what the needs are. Whenever I try to do something with DPW, it's always, we don't have enough staff, we can't get to that work. I mean, things like that are still level of service to me. So that's my concern about the future of the city.
I'll let the bond rating go with those people and anybody else in the audience. But how are we going to get to the staffing that's going to be necessary in the future? And that's all of us need to work on that. I think that's a big issue.
And I would like just to touch on that right now.
Can I just finish one other thing and then I'll turn it over?
Okay. I have a short memory, so we have to repeat the question.
The other thing is, will the personnel, the insurance and all that come before personnel committee? We haven't seen that yet. I'd like, if this is going to finance, I'd like those other things to go to personnel so that typically we've had a review of it, but I understand that staff right now what you're going through. But I'd like to see that come before personnel so that we can discuss that.
Absolutely.
Okay, to go back, we'll start with fire, police, DPW, kind of in that order. And the needs with talking with Chief Remington, Assistant Chief Mayor, the staffing to get to those levels that we are looking at getting to are not going to be something that we're going to be able to do here in a budget cycle.
No.
I mean, these are huge. These, in my opinion, these are referendum questions. These are referendum questions where we're going to be coming to the citizens and saying, hey, look, if you want to add 9 firefighters, this is why we need them. This is how we're going to, this is what the financial impact is. And Chief, right now, are you fully staffed? Okay, so you got 1 vacancy now. I believe the police, 3. Okay, thank you. And then same thing with the police and same with the DPW, looking at, pretty substantial increases that would have to be something that I personally would ask that the council, we go to a referendum with that, because the implications to that, and I mean, it's huge money. And that's, I believe, the only real prudent way to do that is to put that to the voter. And if the voters wish to, make that determination and make that vestation, that's how we do it. Who's up next? Mike, you still have the floor.
Well, thank you.
And I can just say, we are bound by the increase of net new construction. As Kelly said, we had TID 4 close in 2023, so we did receive a little bump in our tax levy from that. But the next TID closure, I believe, is in 2034, 2038, something along those lines. And so we won't receive that bump in the city of Franklin prays that we receive more net new construction increase going forward, but this year it was only 1.76%, which was roughly about $500,000. So, trying to determine what you can expense out of the general fund with $500,000 becomes very challenging.
Alderman Day.
I just want to piggyback off of that. Do you happen to know, Danielle, for net new construction last year, what it was from last year to this year, just for table setting, just to know what the difference was?
Like 1.2 or something.
Like less than half, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
It was less than half.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I think we do, yeah.
We did have TID 3 close though, so we did receive a little up from that as well.
I have a handful of questions. And you'll have to forgive me because some of this stuff is new to me, and I just don't see how much time got put into this, because this just looks like nothing. So kidding.
Again, we were here till 6:30 this morning.
I get it.
Nap, came back.
There is no sleeping in the building.
When you talk about the technology update and the trying to make it a little more future-proof in that regard, are we talking of a sizable expenditure now and then smaller incremental stuff throughout as far as maintenance, or are we talking a one-time expenditure and then, hey, we're good for X amount of years? Which sort of model are we looking at in that regard?
Right. Well, we have our IT director here, who I'm certain would love to answer this. But off the top of my head, I can tell you that there are some one-time major expenses, and then obviously, like a lot of products, there's that ongoing cost of licenses and uses.
Director, welcome back.
When we look at infrastructure, we're not only talking about technology infrastructure, there's other infrastructure within the city as well. I mean, you have water, you have streets, You have sewer lines, electrical lines, et cetera, light poles. So there's all sorts of different types of infrastructure, at least the technology infrastructure.
That's what I'm kind of focused on.
Yep, the big ones that we're going to be hitting is going to be telecommunications for 2023 and 2024 on it. We're also going to be doing a desktop replacement for 2024 because a lot of the desktops are 6 years old at this point in time. So we are going to be seeing a change in how we're going to be doing computing because we're going to be increasing our bandwidth and the reliability of our bandwidth. We're going to be engaging more and more into cloud services. So we're going to be seeing a large shift of stuff going from on-premise servers to stuff actually being done in the cloud. Then we'll have some storage coming up down the road. Our 3-par SAN is getting old. Some of that data storage we're going to have to keep locally, but then we're also going to look where we can of turning around and putting it also into the cloud as well. And I also look at AI analytics very, very carefully. That's where I look where can we use the computer to do some of the work that the staff is actually doing. And can we turn around and start using technology to turn around and help start decreasing some of our staffing needs, particularly on monitoring. I think that holds a tremendous amount of value at this point. So we're going to be seeing a switch going from CapEx to OpEx as we start moving all of our stuff out of the capital to the operational outlay, where you're going to be seeing a lot of monthly charges or subscriptions. We're doing that with a phone, where instead of putting in a phone system that is a traditional box phone that's set on premise, no, we're basically just putting a voice over IP phone there, but the PBX is actually going to be in the cloud. And we're capitalizing it right now on a service plan, but technically it's a month-by-month plan per phone that you actually have on there. So we're going to be moving away from CapEx and going more and more to OpEx and looking at more and more services in the cloud.
Is there a concern in that regard for, as far as like any sort of data loss for mission critical data, any sort of documentation that would be required to be kept on site that, you know, would that be something that where we will do a redundancy sort of effort with some?
2025 is where I'm going to be start looking at a full BCP, business continuity plan, disaster recovery. Right now, we really don't have a disaster recovery plan other than Jim goes to the server room and grabs the backup tapes.
Okay.
That's not a disaster recovery plan. So we need basically redundant systems, and that's where you can go in the cloud. We can rent systems in the cloud and then provision on an ad-needed basis for it. So if we can start keeping some of our less critical data, a lot of the stuff that we have to keep on-prem would be stuff that we have to keep for CGIS, where it's considered potential evidence. And you don't want to put evidence up in the cloud. But
Totally agree.
other documents and data storage can easily turn around and go to the cloud for. And that's also going to help with collaboration as well, because instead of turning around and finding your documents here, you can actually collaborate it with not only the employees working from home, but with other communities and organizations, as long as you have a shared resource out there.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. I do have a couple others, if that's okay.
Keep going.
With the insurance side of things, do we have a preventative care model at all with our insurance, where instead of having to pay $10,000 for diabetes care for an employee, that we do a $2,500 of preventative care, education, things of that nature to kind of mitigate those higher expenditures?
I mean, we don't have that kind of plan, no.
Okay.
But that has been actually just discussed at the last meeting that we had with our insurance
Like last week.
agent last week, was implementing some of those preventative models.
Okay.
We also have a handful of employees that are on really expensive medications that we've tried to look for ways to help mitigate those costs. And, you know, we're going to keep looking. Unfortunately, we haven't really found something that will fit the needs just yet.
Okay. Changing gears to the capital improvement plan. Who developed the capital improvement plan as far as setting the priorities for the 5-year plan that was kind of outlined?
So We had asked the departments to provide us with their wish list and put it in priority, and then we presented that to the mayor, and the mayor had determined what was feasible and what wasn't per department and ask.
And then how much flexibility or agility do we have as far as any sort of changes where something becomes a mission critical failure of equipment or building requirements or anything like that? How much flexibility do we have as far as that goes, or is it fairly rigid?
Are you asking between now and the proposed budget or just in general?
You're saying like in general, do we have money to cover some of those?
As far as
or-
if, just kind of
Or are we locked into what we promised here?
correct, like where, for example, looking at the capital plan of saying year 3 bulldozer. Okay, well, maybe what we currently have has a complete, utter mechanical breakdown, and that kind of elevates it as far as the need, because it was something that, oh, we're good for 2 more years, but this was not something we saw coming. How much flexibility do we have?
Sure, I'll touch on that. So, like, for example, fire department needed that battalion vehicle because it was like their number one. I mean, we're gonna learn about something crazy later, okay? But what we have now, what we need now for them, for DPW with that, I mean, that's just for critical operations, that there's been so many Band-Aids and everything else put on something that this was their number one thing. I said, it's Christmas morning, you can only open up one gift, what's it gonna be and why? And it was like, this is it, this is why we need it, it's critical, and because it's that tight, the budget is that tight to where we're trying to keep it as flat as possible and only work with those dire need situations of what we're gonna need just to do day-to-day business. So that's how we determine what is put on that. And that's my determination, working with department heads, all their feedback. I mean, they won't even allow me in the bulldozer, so I mean, if they, poor thing, but anyway, I'll beat it. So, but to get on that thing, this is what they need, so I trust them, it's what they do for a living, it's their job, their department. What do you need? And it was dire, not the wish thing, so I guess what you're saying.
And so in 2024, again, we can move things around as needed with the amount of revenue that we have until the proposed budget is final. Going into future years, though, it's mostly a wish list, which you'll see in 25 through 27. I don't think there was anything on 28.
Nope.
That could easily change within the next 6 months.
And so I'm kind of looking at it saying, okay, well, looking forward then, where, 2026, that dollar amount, do we feel like we can confidently say, okay, we have to save for this, this is what we need to, this is, as mentioned, these are the DPW needs, these are the fire department needs, these are the police needs, and we need to make sure that this is earmarked on that budget for those items. Feel good about that then, as far as being able to say, I can brown bag it a couple times, sort of deal?
What I can say is it's pretty descriptive in the budget that, we're restrained by the amount of revenue that we have. So that being said, there has been in place a borrowing of capital needs of $2 million roughly every 2 years that may need to be increased due to the amount of inflation and price of products. And the $2 million may not be enough. We may need to look at that going forward. So I can't necessarily say right now that we'll have enough in 26 to cover what's on the list.
Sure.
Well, and, each year brings with it its own unexpected expenditures and situations. I know that the fire department paid for a truck in 2021, right? And they're still waiting for that. And there's so many things that you just can't predict. But we are trying to pivot and make something, find a solution.
Okay. And then last thing, and then I'll be done. You mentioned about the landfill fund that is not a forever
Right.
Sort of thing.
Right.
What would you forecast as like, hey, this is going to get capped on, start don't anticipate this as a thing starting on X year. Is there like, is that somewhere like in the near future, or is it a little bit further out for the kind of belief in that regard?
Doing different analysis, I'd say it's definitely further out, but that's something that we can come up with from John's to see. I mean, it all caps out at how much tonnage goes into it.
Okay, super. Thank you.
Yeah, I was gonna, oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, ma'am.
I was just going to say that in doing the research for this, I had come across at least the last 5+ years, the same time frame that was given. So I had adjusted that a little bit. But yes, we were going to have to do some analysis and get that from John's to get a more accurate picture of that, because obviously we don't want to plan on funds that won't be there.
Well, the thing with waste management and how that was all structured, going back, I believe about 15 years ago, where it was, you know, I believe it was $20 million over 18 years or 18 million over 20 years, one or the other. And granted, we're bringing in over 2 million a year now because they're having more tipping fees, which is great now, but it's going to shorten the lifespan. And that mathematical number, it's still out there, whether it's 10 years, 15, 20, that's to be up. And there's, you know, some speculation because it was based on like the economy when COVID hit, you know, the garbage, you know, intake plummeted, it wasn't as big, and all of a sudden COVID ends, now it's triple what it was. So there's a lot of factors that go into this, so it's not an exact science, but that's what we were told how it works. Alderwoman Day.
Two quick questions related to staffing. The first one with regard to the changes in health insurance. Is the only change impacting those employees that have health insurance the premium, or are there changes to their deductible and co-insurance as well?
Yeah, so we are going to have to adjust for IRS regulations. I'm not exactly sure where we're at with that. I know that that's for very in the near future insurance meetings. We have a meeting every month. So that I anticipate there will be a requirement to go up a little bit on that as it seems to increase every year.
Okay, and then my last question is with regard to the wage increase. First of all, thank you for that and working that in. I know that's important to everyone that's here. But my question is there going to also be in 2024 a cost of living adjustment as well as the 3%, or is the 3% that's it because we're tight?
3% was challenging enough.
Yeah.
Extremely challenging.
However, we did look at other options. I mean, we did look at dropping it to 2.5 and 2, and it didn't even warrant doing that because of the difference. It was just, we were still looking for money basically to cover it regardless.
Yeah, I just want to put that out there so people aren't, you know, expecting that was going to be coming as well. I
Yeah.
figured that was the answer, but I just want to make sure that people know that up front and aren't expecting additional.
Yeah, this is, it's been a challenge because obviously we wanted to keep it as flat as possible. And, you know, with these inflation costs and everything just being so much more expensive in the revenue that's coming in, it's just, yeah, it's very limited and we can only do so much.
But thank you for all your work on this. I
Thank you.
look forward to my light reading.
Thank you. Yeah. 397 pages, I think, of light reading.
Alderwoman Eichmann.
I also wanted to piggyback on what Alderwoman Day said, and thank you both for your extensive time spent. That presentation was wonderful and very helpful, so I greatly appreciate it. And for those in the audience and for those listening from home, just so there's no misunderstandings, we were just presented with this tonight, which is normal procedure at budget time. So that's probably the reasoning why a lot of us don't have a lot of questions is we need to go through this, and I'm sure we have many questions that arise. So
Right,
thank
and
you
that's
both.
why we'll have about, 2 months, almost 2 months of time to shore up what has been presented before we get to the adopted stage. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
I just add my thanks and looking forward to the department head meetings.
Thank you.
Yes, again, please come to those. I know this is my first budget, this is Kelly's first budget, and so
excellent
very
job.
informative.
Excellent job by y'all, and thank you, Mr. Rotzenberg.
Quite the experience.
Absolutely. This is
Quite the
a
experience.
mountainous
Yes, thank you.
task, mountainous task.
But yeah, I would like to piggyback off of what Danielle said. I do encourage everybody to make those department meetings because that's the opportunity for department heads to sell the finance committee and others on their budget requests.
And we can be there to ask questions and get the, so that's the important part of the department head meetings.
Right.
Absolutely. Any other further questions? If not, we will move on. Next agenda item.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
G4, an ordinance to amend ordinance number 202.
Don't you want a motion?
Yeah, motion to,
I move to forward the mayor's 2024 budget, recommended budget to the finance committee for its review.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all's in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. I apologize, motion carries. G4, an ordinance to amend ordinance 2022-2521, an ordinance adopting the 2023 annual budgets for the capital outlay fund to carry forward appropriations from 2022 for specifically identified projects in the amount of $84,287.
So moved.
Second. You have a first and a second. This will be a roll call vote. Madam Clerk.
Alderman Hopfer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichmann.
Aye.
Alderman Hassan. Alderwoman Day.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
Alderman Gregg.
Aye.
6 ayes, no noes, motion carries. Item G5, acceptance of the 2022 annual comprehensive financial report for the city of Franklin. Anybody, is this motion to accept and place on file, as we're looking for?
So moved.
Discussion, Mr. Barber.
Is there a report that we can see?
Well, why don't we go back with the first and, okay, so we have a first, well, we'll, hold on, Madam Director, Finance.
I apologize, I thought I sent it. So I can definitely provide, yes.
Well, should we table
What?
it then to the next meeting, or?
Well, that's pretty much the only option we have. Will that have any negative impact on anything?
No.
Okay, so, Mr. Craig, would you amend that to a motion to table to the next meeting?
Absolutely. We'll move to table till the next common council meeting.
I'll second.
We have a first and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all is in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. G6, in ordinance to amend ordinance number 2022-2521, an ordinance adopting the 2023 annual budget for the general fund to provide carry forward appropriations from 2022 to 2023 of unused funds for a planning consultant in the amount of $9,500.
Second?
Can I just make a
Yes,
quick
Madam
comment?
Director, why don't you touch on this?
It was brought to my attention, I had made an error originally in the council action sheet. I had included, I'm sorry, I'm like looking for this one. I had included the name of Foth Consulting in with Rayburn, and it is my understanding that my revision was not part of the common council packet that you had received. So I just wanted to let you know that it is just Rayburn Consulting and not Rayburn and Foth.
That's fine. I'm sorry, who was the first?
Second.
Hassan and Barber? Okay.
Oh, is it 8? Okay.
We're on G6 right now. We're on G6,
All good.
which is still fine because it's still, we're going to hit it.
Still Rayburn.
Right, it's still Rayburn.
So, yeah,
Okay,
all
we got a first and a second for discussion. Alderwoman Day.
Is this enough?
No.
I mean, I understand that this is the money that's sitting there, but I mean,
It's the first step.
Yes, yes.
and.
It's
and-
exactly the first step.
Because when I look back at, and I'm getting ahead of myself because this is the next one, but it appears that the last one for $10,000 in April basically lasted about 5 months. And I anticipate it might go faster now that we have smaller staff and more things on the docket. So I'm just concerned, have we planned or have any ideas for after we go through this?
Sorry. We don't have anything that we formally have to present to you right now, but we have been talking about ways to mitigate the issues that we're experiencing right now and some creative ways of moving that forward in a positive for both the city financially, but also to get our applicants going through like a constant stream of movement so that way the process isn't as long and painful as it is right now. I do want to say too that it seems that there's quite the shortage of workforce, and planning is no different than any other of those areas. So it's been a challenge to find planners with the appropriate experience that also are willing to accept what we're offering.
Do we have a first and a second on that? Yes. Okay, no other further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Sorry? Let's see that on here. Okay. Roll call, please, Madam Clerk. Well, it
Alderman-
doesn't say it down here.
Alderman Craig.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
Alderwoman Day.
Aye.
Alderman Hassan.
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichman.
Aye.
Alderman Hopper.
Aye.
6 ayes, no noes, motion carries. G7, authorize a consulting services agreement with Rayburn Consulting LLC for general planning services.
So move.
Second.
We have a first and a second. It's fine. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Item G8, authorize a budget amendment to carry forward POs to cover Rayburn, should be strictly Rayburn consulting expenses, not Rayburn Fought, that's what Madam Director was talking about.
So move.
Second.
Barbara Eichman, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. That'd be nice if we put the roll call on the bottom.
That's the, I think it
Eight
might be a
is-
duplicate of number.
Yeah, it might be. I think that we probably had, yeah, there's a duplicate. So 7 is my revision. And I think 8 was the original.
With
Now
no
it's a
fault.
Duplicate, yes,
With no fault.
exactly. So it's just one ordinance and budget amendment.
So then let's just go for a roll call on this one.
Maybe not.
What?
ordinance.
Then we would
Mr. City
retract
Attorney.
G7?
So are we retracting one of these at this point?
G7?
Yeah, number 8, please.
Number 8, yeah.
So we're retracting number 8.
I remove my second.
Are we removing the entire?
Yeah, so city attorney had mentioned to me or brought to my attention that FOTH was incorrectly included with the request for G6, is it? And I had corrected that, and it looks like it had come in as a additional item when it should just have been one item.
So item G8 gets deleted, basically.
Yes, please. Yep. Yes.
So G as in George, 8 deleted, no action taken. Okay?
Yes.
Moving forward to G9, resolution declaring official intent to reimburse expenditures from proceeds of borrowing. Madam Finance Director.
So I have Todd Taves here from Ellers, who will be speaking about the borrowings intended for 2023. This is just allowing us to spend the money prior to using it, or prior to receiving it for these projects.
Okay? We have a speaker, we're going to go with the motion.
I'll motion.
Okay? We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a first and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. G10, bless you Glenn, approval for meeting time change to Plan Commission meetings. Last meeting, if you recall, we didn't specifically state from 7 PM to 6 PM, starting October 5th.
Motion to move.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. G11, a resolution approving a partial property tax rescission and refund for 2022 for parcel number 754-9008-000.
Motion to approve.
We have a first,
Second.
and we have a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Referral of letter to the Common Council from the Board of Review with expression of concerns as it pertains to the City of Franklin's tax assessments. This is for discussion only, and we have a member, Mr. Jim Lucky, if we're okay to have him speak on this for a moment. Mr. Lucky, would you like to approach the? Thank you, sir, for waiting around.
It was interesting.
Never dull. Mr. Lucky, you have the floor. Thank you.
All right, well, concern, that's what it says in the agenda, and you're looking at one person that is very concerned about it. The city hired a new assessment company 2 years ago, in 2022 and 2023, and I'm in, I think, my 10th year of being on this review board. And for 8 years, I believe the review board did a very fine job. Things went smoothly. But the last 2 years, it's been anything but. The company came in, and the very last year, I was second chair, but at that time, I was chairing the meeting. And it turned out we only had one case. Now, I'm used to seeing years of 10, 15, maybe even 20 in some years cases. And it was actually kind of shocking to me that that's all that was in front of us. And just to tell you the story, it was a longtime Franklin couple that were contesting, and they stated their case, and they had no case. You know, they were supposed to provide evidence to disprove the assessment. And their whole point of being there is they wanted to tell the board that how awful the taxes are in Franklin. Okay, that was their whole agenda, and they were actually very upset that the assessor company had called them a couple days before that, offering a reduction. Okay, they felt it was an attempt to not allow them to get up in front of the board. And
Mr. Lucky, could you hold for 1 second?
Yep, sure.
Got some advice.
Okay, go ahead. So I'm sorry.
Not aware of exactly what your presentation may be, but
Yeah.
My thought is whether this is appropriate for an open government.
I think it is. I think closed session is, what, two things? Performance and money?
Reputation.
So then you should have spoken citizen comment like this other guy and let everybody up.
All right.
Yeah.
Thought I would mention it.
Did we move to go to closed session?
No.
No, you have to notice it. You have to.
No, we have to
Has to
notice
be in
that.
the, has to be in the,
Right.
I mean,
So, Mr. Lucky, proceed with caution,
All right.
whatever that means.
Okay. Well, I just have to tell you that I think I'm going to have to question the competence of the assessors. Accurate Assessment is the name of the company, okay? And at the point that I asked the assessment company, there's four of them, is why did you offer a reduction? Okay. Now, this is not a negotiation. You just all of a sudden trying to move the case on like, well, it's somewhere in the middle. The assessor company has to have an explanation, a detailed explanation of some facts, something or another to justify that before the board could approve it. All right. And they had no clue on who made the phone call to these people. They were totally unfamiliar with the case. I was used to having an assessor to be right on top of it. And it just caused me to like, what are we going to do with an assessor's office like this? Now, if I'm getting off here, at the beginning of this year, we had an organizational meeting, and I was very critical of them for good reason. But I didn't see any correction in this year's the way they went about things. Again, we only had one case, and okay, I can't, without bringing in every citizen that was offered some sort of adjustment or reduction and questioning them, provide you with direct evidence that they were actually just trying to limit the amount of cases. But it is suspicious, and it just we're just not organized during any of these hearings. And well, before you hear, I mean, everybody got the letter from this advisory, okay? Just to explain, this advisory, the state has all sorts of advisory commissions statewide where people have different expertises in different areas. I checked on the website, there was something like about 30 of them, but this one specializes in assessments. And Mr. Pelkey, who is a Franklin citizen who actually filed these things with the Department of Revenue for review, and the Department of Revenue is still looking into these items, but this advisory committee jumped in and went through these, and in their opinion, now these are all experts across the state, that there is very credible evidence that the company is not doing something like 17 critical items. And it's essential for the taxpayers to have a standard of service, that one taxpayer here in Franklin or whatever city or municipality it might be knows they're getting the same assessment as somebody else. And I just have to say now, I mean, these are, if I'm correct, yearly contracts with this company.
There was a 3-year contract that the board had agreed to terminate with a 45-day notice. So we will be ending that contract at the end of this year.
Okay. Well, then I just conclude here is that there was action we could have taken prior to hearing the one case in this last meeting, and so there really is nothing else we can do. I mean, except hire another company. I guess that's what it really boils down to,
Mayor, that would need to come before council, of course. Not that I'm against that decision, but am I correct in that?
That was
That-
already.
We already did
Okay.
that.
Already
decided.
I
already did.
think the one of the big issues is that there were breach contract in certain areas, and there was not much enforced of those breaches. So we're here.
So we all know that this has been dealt with. We've agreed that was going to terminate here, and that's what we're dealing with right now. Alderwoman Day, then Alderwoman Barber.
I believe part of that was in closed session, so I'm not sure how much of that was public knowledge.
That may have been the meeting that I had missed.
But in any event, so I thank you, Mr. Lucky. I appreciate your years of service on the board and your expertise and everything that you brought to our attention. And I don't doubt from what I've heard and seen that there are issues with this company, and we're addressing that. However, I do have concerns about the letter that is before us. I don't have a problem with an independent group doing a review to show us what's happening, but this is anything but an independent, unbiased report, given that Andy Pelkey is the person who's responsible for the report and responsible for the company. So I want to put that out there that from my perspective, well, I appreciate information, you being here, that I understand he didn't sign it, but it is his company.
I don't think it is it?
If you Google the company, his name will come up as a proprietor of it.
And I thought that was made up in the public comments.
And it was brought up this evening by
Yeah,
Mr.
well,
Weaver.
it's correct. I'm aware of that. I did my research too, so,
I
okay?
just want to give everybody pause because Mr. Pelkey has publicly been speaking out against this company for quite some time. So, again, I don't disagree that there are issues that need to be addressed. I appreciate all of the expertise that you bring and what you've told us this evening. There are things that I think most of us up here weren't aware of because we're not on the Board of Review. So I thank you for that. I have paused to give the letter as much credit as is laid out for us here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, Madam Director.
I was just going to say that in the Board of Review meeting, it was determined that somebody from the Board of Review would bring this forward to discuss it, which is exactly why Mr. Lucky's here.
Thank you. Alderman Barber, you were next.
I read this. I'm concerned about what the report says. The credibility of it is an issue that can be resolved. But in hiring anybody in the future, I would like them aware of this letter and respond to it as well as part of the hiring process, that they would go over point by point.
I like it.
And say, what is this and how do you see this as part of that hiring process? So I realize we're in that process right now, but I think this is, in order to put it to bed or to deal with it, I think we need to have them aware of it and work through it with us, or come back and let us know what their thoughts are.
Yeah.
Before we hire them.
Well, and that'll likely impact how much we are also charged for services moving forward.
Right thing to do.
Like Mr. Lucky said, we want to clean this up.
Right.
We want to have the
Absolutely.
confidence. So I think this is a way of,
Yeah.
if it costs a buck, I think it's worth it to have that confidence.
Right.
Okay, Alderman Eichman.
I just also wanted to thank you, Jim. You're appreciated in many different ways throughout the entire city. So thank you for your time on that board. I also like to encourage others, as I did attend the last Board of Review meeting, when time allows, if you so choose, to please listen to that last Board of Review meeting. It was very enlightening, very eye-opening. I highly encourage each and every one of you to please take the time, if you so choose, when available, to listen to it. Thank you. I yield.
What is the date?
9/11/2023 is the.
Yeah. Am I done?
Are you?
Did you say everything?
Are you Larry?
Well, I know, it's, you came to the proper conclusion. What Alderman Barber just said, I think it's just the thing to do, but because this does have credibility. I mean, the Department of Revenue is still investigating these, and by the time you're making a decision on this, I mean, you've got a highly credible organization. After all, they have overall control of the Board of Review. They do our training, and so I think that's a thing to do.
Thank you.
Okay.
This was for discussion only. Okay. So we'll move on to G13. Resolution providing for the sale of approximately $2,395,000 in general obligation promissory notes, Series 2023, B as in boy. Good evening and welcome, and thank you for being patient, sir.
Good evening, Mayor. And I'll be brief. So you're being asked this evening to authorize two sets of municipal securities obligations. The first item, 13, would be general obligation notes. These will finance everything in the current year capital program, with the exception of the DPW cold storage building and the water tower. Those will be the next action items. So this is approximately $2,385,000. It's got the building improvements, park improvements, street lighting, land purchase. These notes would be amortized over a term of 10 years with level payments with an estimated interest rate of about 3.75%. The way the interest rate is determined is these bonds would be offered for a competitive sale on November 7th. So we would take bids from interested underwriting firms and bring the results to you that evening for consideration and award. So again, first of two issues, these are the notes.
Any discussion from members of the council? We'll do a roll call. We'll do a roll call on the motion. We're looking for any further discussion. We got a first and a second. Any further discussion? Say none, Madam Clerk. Roll call vote.
Alderman Hopfer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichman.
Aye.
Alderman Hassan.
Aye.
Alderwoman Day, sorry.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
Alderman Craig.
Aye.
6 ayes, none opposed, motion carries. Item G14. Initial resolution authorizing general obligation bonds in an amount not to exceed $3,035,000 for water system projects. Initial resolution authorizing general obligation bonds in an amount not to exceed $3,020,000 for the housing of machinery and equipment. Resolution providing for the sale not to exceed $6,055,000 general obligation corporate purpose bonds, Series 2023A as an addendum. And resolution directing publication notice to electors relating to bond issues.
So the $6,055,000, that's the aggregate of the two other numbers. Unlike notes, bonds must be issued by purpose and authorized separately by individual resolution. So again, two purposes to this bond issue. The first being the cold storage building, the second being the water tower. The debt service for the water tower, the city would plan to use revenues from operation of the water system to cover that part of the debt. So it's a general obligation bond, but that part would be allocated to and paid by the water system. Distinction between the notes that you've authorized and the bonds is that the bonds will be amortized over a term of 20 years with level principal and interest payments. We're using an estimated interest rate of 4.25%, and again, these will be concurrently offered for competitive sale on November the 7th.
Mr. City Attorney.
All the resolutions should be adopted or moved on individually, correct?
Is that how they were provided? I believe so.
They're individual or resolutions.
Yes,
And is a roll call vote required on any of these?
I would recommend that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? If not, we'll take these individually. Initial resolution authorizing general obligation bonds in an amount not to exceed $3,035,000 for water system project.
So move.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Roll call. Did you say no roll call?
Roll call.
Good, roll call, excellent.
What, discussion?
Oh, discussion, Mr. Barber.
On page 14, it says 320,000, 3 million.
First one's for the water system.
Oh, the first one, that's three different motions then?
Yes.
Four.
Four, okay. Got it.
Okay, do we have a first and a second on that? Yes. Okay, roll call vote, please.
Alderman Craig.
Aye.
Alderman Barber. Alderwoman Day.
Aye.
Alderman Hassan.
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichman.
Aye.
Alderman Hopfer.
Aye.
6 ayes, no noes, motion carries. Going to number 2.
So move for the 300 and.
I'm sorry?
Million. So move for the 3,020,000.
20,000.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Roll call, please.
Alderman Hopfer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichman.
Aye.
Alderman Hassan.
Aye.
Alderwoman Day.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
Alderman Craig.
Aye.
6 ayes and no, motion carries. Item number 3,
Move to approve.
Second.
resolution providing for the sale not to exceed $6,055,000 general obligation corporate purpose bonds, Series 2023A. We've got a first and a second. Roll call, please.
Alderman Craig.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
Alderwoman Day.
Aye.
Alderman Hassan.
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichman.
Aye.
Alderman Hopfer.
Aye.
6 ayes, no noes, motion carries. Resolution directing publication notice to electors relating to bond issues.
So move.
Second.
We have a first, second, Mr. Craig. Roll call, please.
Alderman Hopfer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichman.
Aye.
Alderman Hassan. Alderwoman Day.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
And Alderman Craig.
Aye.
6 ayes, no noes, motion carries. Thank you. What I'd like to do before we go into break, we'll just get licensing and the other I item. Let's see here. H licenses,
I can do that if you're ready.
please.
All right, License Committee met this evening. We had 5 operator licenses and 1 change of agent. All were approved.
Is there a second? Oh,
I'll second. Do we need to say who was at licensing or no? Who was present at licensing?
no.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Moving on to I, vouchers and payroll. Motion approving the following. This will be a roll call vote. Motion approving the following. City vouchers with an ending date of September 14, 2023, in the amount of $2,537,069.56. Payroll date is September 8th, 2023, in the amount of $452,571.28. And payments of the various payroll deductions in the amount of $239,937.04, plus city matching payments, and estimated payroll dated September 22nd, 2023, in the amount of $460,000, and payments of the various payroll deductions in the amount of $467,000, plus city matching funds.
So move.
Second.
We have a first and a second by Alderwoman Eichman. Roll call, please.
Alderman Craig.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
Alderwoman Day.
Aye.
Alderman Hassan. Alderwoman Eichman.
Aye.
Alderman Hopfer.
Aye.
6 ayes, no noes, motion carries. We will go back to the first closed session. We're going to take a break.
Glenn?
Please come back in 5 minutes. It's now 9:07.
I just want to.
Go ahead, sorry.
Me too.
It is
A motion to enter closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statutes 19.85 sub 1 sub E as in Edward, with regard to deliberating or negotiating with purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. And Wisconsin Statutes 19.85 sub 1 sub G as in George, to confer with legal counsel for the common counsel who is rendering advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is likely to become involved, and to re-enter open session at the same place thereafter to act on such matters discussed therein as it deems appropriate.
So move.
Second.
We have a first and a second by Alderman Eichman. Roll call, please.
Alderman Hopfer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichman.
Aye.
Alderman Hassan.
Aye.
Alderwoman Day.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
And Alderman Craig.
Aye.
6 ayes, no no. We are now.
Recording in progress.
At 9:34 p.m. We are back in open session. Is there a motion? Mr. City Attorney, could you please make it?
I don't make motion.
Could you please cite, could you say something?
Read the motion.
Read the motion.
As discussed.
Make a motion to direct staff as discussed.
Oh,
In
I'm
closed
sorry.
session.
Thank you. It's a first. Is there a second?
Second.
Still making notes.
We have a first and a second, Alderwoman Eichman. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. Ayes have it. Let's see here. G16. Looking for a motion with regard to city personnel performance evaluation of director administration to enter closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 19.85 sub 1 sub C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governing body has jurisdiction or exercise responsibility.
Motion to go to.
And to re-enter open session at the same place thereafter to act on such matters discussed therein as it deems appropriate. We have a first, Alderman Eichmann.
Second.
Second, Alderman Barber. Roll call, please.
Alderman Hopfer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Eichmann.
Aye.
Alderman Hassan.
Aye.
Alderwoman Day.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
Alderman Craig.
Aye. 6 ayes, no noes, motion carries. We're slowly creeping into closed session. A motion to enter closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 19.85, sub 1, sub C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governing body has jurisdiction or exercise responsibility. Wisconsin Statute 19.85, sub 1, sub F as in Frank, considering financial, medical, social, or personal histories or disciplinary data of specific persons, preliminary consideration of specific personnel, problems, or the investigation of charges against specific persons except where Par B applies, which, if discussed in public, would be likely to have a substantial adverse effect upon the reputation of any person referred to in such histories or data, or involved in such problems or investigations, and Wisconsin State Statute 19.85, sub 1, sub G as in George, conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is likely to become involved, and to re-enter into open session at the same place thereafter to act on such matters discussed therein as it deems appropriate.
So moved.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Roll call, please.
Alderman Craig.
Aye.
Alderman Barber.
Aye.
Alderwoman Day.
Aye.
Alderman Hassan.
Aye.
Alderman Hopfer.
Aye.
And Alderwoman Eichmann has vacated her seat.
5 ayes, no noes, 1 absent. Motion carries. We are in closed.
Recording in progress.
It's 11:13 PM. We are back in open session. Is there a motion?
I would like to make a motion to proceed as discussed in closed session.
Second.
We have a second by Alderman Barber. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Mr. Craig, seconded by Mr. Barber. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are off the record.